Steve Prescott, hands up! For Steve Prescott, hands up! For Steve Prescott, hands up!
Welcome to Serious About Rugby League. Today on the agenda we're going to predict the results for Super League Round 13 with Joe and Jack. And there is a forfeit for the loser. The person who gets the least amount right will, Joe being a Hull FC fan, will wear a Hull KR shirt. And Jack here being a Rhinos fan will wear a Bradford shirt.
What riding on this, isn't there?
This will certainly be interesting, so I'd think about this one carefully. Saturday and Sunday games this week, obviously the following week from the Easter period, so the games are on Saturday and Sunday to allow the players more rest. And we start off on Saturday, 3 PM kick-off at Trailfinders Sports Ground. London Broncos versus Salford Red Devils. Over Easter, London have lost both games quite convincingly on Easter Thursday to Catalans at home, and then they lost on Easter Monday to Huddersfield, albeit only by 5 points. And then Salford picked up a surprise win at Warrington on Good Friday, winning 36-12, but then lost for the second time this season at home to Wigan, 30-26. So I'll start off with you, Jack. Which way do you see this one going?
I think this is Salford all over. I know they're going down to London, so they'll be the away side, but I mean, London's form, they've lost the last 5 games. They lost in the Challenge Cup as well to Halifax, am I right in saying, I think? So I don't see this going any other way but a Salford win. I think we've said it before, Hastings and Louis run that team and they've got a decent forward pack in front of them, so I can't see... I'd love to say London as an underdog, so I always love an underdog, but for me, Salford have got that game pretty comfortably, I'd say.
You going to take a risk, Joe?
I'm afraid I can't, because the fact is, I mean, I'm not being a yes man here, but no, I think Salford, they'll take control from early doors. I mean, Jackson Hastings, he'll run the show. I mean, every you see him, over 100 metres made, at least a try assist from him. He'll dominate, because I mean, London, they pushed Huddersfield close fair, but nah. Salford were given the necessary reality check, I thought, by Wigan, and this will really set them straight. Easy Salford win, maybe about 20 points even.
Later on Saturday, the Sky game sees Castleford travel to Wigan. Over Easter, Wigan lost to their big rival St Helens on Good Friday, but then picked up that win at Salford. Castleford clung on against Wakefield before going over to the south of France and suffering quite a convincing defeat. We'll start off with you on this one, Joe. Which way do you see it going?
It's a very tough one, actually, because I mean, Wigan... At the minute, I mean, sort of a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde team. Yeah, they're down there, but I mean, when they get going, there could be anyone on the day. Whereas Castleford, struggling with their injuries, but yet again, they're still managing to get a couple of wins through. Their away form isn't too good. France, disappointing result. It's tough. I will actually go because they've got a bit more, well, arguably a bit more size than the forwards. I'm going to have a shot in the dark, I think, Castleford.
Interesting.
I mean, I'll say this, unless Wigan can stop the danger of Liam Watts, Jake Truman and Corey Aston have been playing well together, but no, Castleford for me then.
I agree with Joe, to be fair there. I think this is probably one of the tough ones of the weekend to call without a doubt. Again, both teams are just so unpredictable and have both got big injury lists at the minute, but I think Cass. I think, well, Aston I think is one player that has really sort of come out of the dark, come out of nowhere really, and been, he's waited for his chance, he's been patient over about 3 seasons I think now for his chance, and he's come good, so I'd say Cass win. I know our friend Sean, who's behind the camera, won't be too pleased with me saying that, but yeah, for me that's Cass.
This is the one where you're going to disagree. Move on to Sunday. Joe's beloved Hull FC host Wakefield. Mixed Easter for both. Hull thrashing their city rivals Hull KR before getting thrashed themselves by St Helens on Monday. Wakefield, as we mentioned, just failed to come back and beat Castleford, and then in a similar sort of game they were on the right side of the result, hanging on against Leeds. Jack, what do you think?
Wakey, which Joe won't be happy about. I think I watched Wakey play Leeds yesterday, and as much as it was a real attrition battle. Wakey did really well to come out on top. Again, we've mentioned they've got big injuries at the minute. Johnson, Tupou, Miller and Brough all out and not looking like they're coming back too soon. But Hampshire and Reynolds have stood up in the halves. Caton Brown's come back in on the wing, and young lad Lee Kershaw yesterday had a cracking game. He was man of the match. So they replaced them well, and what I didn't realise this until I had a little research this morning, but Wakefield actually have the joint best form in the league if you look at the past 5 games. They've won 4 of those last 5, and only Saints, who are top of the league, obviously have done the same. So I think Wakey again will pull through. I think Chris Chester's got a really good attitude about his players. He drills it well into them. So sorry, Joe, but I think Wakefield will be FC this weekend.
Well, I'll be biased, I'll say all. No, it'll be a very tough one because, I saw the game earlier this season. Wakefield, they came out heavily on top, but the fact is they owed Bill Tupou to that, and they're missing him. Favita and Paulie though, they were also the main 2 I highlighted, and of course they'll be playing again, but the fact is Wakefield have their injuries. Can those 2 do it throughout the whole game? And Hull, of course, have got players to bring back, whether Josh Griffin and Gareth Ellis are fully fit again, whether they were just rested, Danny Houghton as well. And if they've kept Jake Connor, Albert Kelly and Max Sneed fit, I think because they've got more experience in the half-backs, and with Ellis being back as well, Mickey Payer too, he should be coming back, I think Hull will wear Wakefield down. And Wakefield, they've been doing well for several weeks. It'll be close, because I think it'll be a similar story. I think Hull could pull away in the first half or something, get a 24-4 lead like Casting, but Wakefield will maybe pull back. But this is where we'll we'll open up the competition, Jack. I'm going to go Hull. So more pressure on that game then.
Two more of Joe's favourite teams on Sunday, Leeds versus OKR. Leeds picking up a good win against Huddersfield before getting beat at Bellevue. Disastrous Easter period for OKR, 2 heavy defeats to OFC followed by Warrington. So what do you think for this one, Joe? It's a big game.
It is. To be honest, this could even be more difficult to call than Hull and Wakefield as well, or even Wigan and Cass, because you got both teams. Sorry to the supporters of both teams out there. It's looking like a relegation 4-pointer this one, but the fact is, I do think Leeds will not only. It's Leeds for me, but I think they could come on top actually, despite it being difficult. If they wanted, they could come out by a 2 or 3 try win. I saw the game at Craven Park, even the KR. I thought they were fortunate to come out so heavily because Leeds battled back and they had Brad Dwyer and Conrad Earl to that. And now behind their home crowd, and Hull KR, the confidence will be as low as ever. They'll want to respond. They shot all by beating Leeds in the qualifiers last year, but I don't think that'll be the same. I think Leeds, they'll control the ruck. Brad Dwyer as well, because that's where Rovers have been slow around that ruck, and Dwyer, I think he'll run Rovers ragged, what with their injuries in the forwards as well. So it's Leeds for me.
I agree. No surprises there. I think, having watched both teams over the Easter period, I think KR at the minute, their confidence must be shot to pieces. They've conceded, in those 4 days, they've probably had the toughest. They've conceded over 110 points in those 2 games alone. Which is a pretty, they've not scored too many either, so that's a pretty horrific Easter weekend to have. And I think Leeds' problem lies in their consistency going forward. I think defensively they're not horrific. The tries they conceded against Wakefield yesterday, the first 2, which got Wakefield ahead and on the front foot, were effectively given to them by Leeds. There were 2, one was from an interception, one was from a drop ball that Wakey then went the full length. So I think if Leeds can find a sort of start they did against Huddersfield, where they just blew them away in the first 20 to 30 minutes, then again it could be a big scoreline. But again, I think, like you said, it's a difficult one to predict. But I think after the Easter periods, Leeds will be looking to bounce back from a tight loss against Wakefield, whereas KR, I think their confidence at the minute is so low. So this could be Leeds' chance to really grasp an opportunity to try and push themselves up the table.
Next up, Catalan's the only team to beat St Helens this season. Go to the Totally Wicked Stadium, looking for a surprise repeat. Both teams had a great Easter. Saints beating Wigan and Hull FC. Catalan's beating London and then Castleford. Is this a comfortable home win, do you think, Jack?
I'd say so. We've said it a few times on here. Saints are, I think, above and beyond the best team in the league. And I think you look at how devastating they were against, sorry to bring it up, Joe, but against Hull on Easter Monday. I think Kevin Nagama scored with 4 tries in the end, and he was lethal down that side. And you've got to take into account the fact as well that they rested players, did Saints. So you would imagine they'll be back to a full complement this week. and in that full complement will probably be Theo Fage. I know he was named in the 19-man squad over East, didn't feature, but he's definitely on his way back, so bringing him back in is a massive boost to them. And away from home, Catalans obviously are at the best when they're at home. It's a bit of a lottery, to be fair, when you play them, but yeah, I think Saints will win pretty comfortably.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, at the minute, how can you go against St Helens?
Exactly,
I witnessed it yesterday. Didn't I? But no, I mean, the fact is, yeah, both teams have had a great. So, but Catalan, they just can't seem to make up their mind whether they are whether they're contenders or pretenders, because after all, I mean, they've had them 2 heavy wins, but then also the record, I mean, embarrassing defeats, 46 and 42-0 to Salford and Wigan respectively. So the fact is, because of that, I mean, Catalan's lack of consistency, that alone will cost them the game, let alone, I mean, never mind St Helens' top form. So yeah, it's a St Helens easy win for me. Johnny Lomax, James Roby, they'll control it, as will Lachlan Coote as well. I mean, and it's unfortunately for Catalan as well, Sam Tompkins, he won't have a happy return.
Last up, we've got Warrington against Huddersfield. Now, you would feel that Warrington would be too strong, but in their last home game, Salford went there, not only beat them, but beat them convincingly. Warrington have come back, beaten Hull KR quite easily. Do you think this will be another home win?
Well, it is pretty difficult. I mean, yeah, Warrington, I think against Hull KR, I mean, well, basically they treat Hull KR like a punch bag, didn't they? Letting out the frustration. But no, I think the Salford game really was a reality check for Warrington. That I mean, it was back-to-back defeats, one from Saints and then Salford. It showed that, I mean, they aren't the dominant force, but they're still up there. So yeah, I think Warrington, they'll overwhelm Huddersfield, I think. Huddersfield's away form hasn't been too convincing either. I mean, the form altogether, I mean, they're still only on, 8 points themselves, or well, down there. So that's a Warrington win. They've got better halfbacks, Blake Austin. So, I mean, I think that's where Salford beat, because Jackson Hastings can easily match Austin, whereas Huddersfield, not too high in that area, I don't think. I mean, I think Frawley's still getting up there, but Austin will really give him some harsh lessons in that department, as will the forwards. So yeah, Warrington win, and it could even be quite convincing.
I'm the same. I think Warrington will dominate. I think this is probably, of all the games, the easiest to call. In all honesty, I think Huddersfield, they got a good win against, well, I say a good win, it was a tight win against London, a late try. Getting them the win there, but again, I think Warrington, yes, they had that shock against Salford. No one expected that whatsoever, but I think, if you're comparing Salford to Huddersfield in that respect, I think Salford are still miles ahead. Huddersfield, what we've seen of them recently, I think they're struggling. I think they're struggling to go forward, and the defence isn't much better either. I think injuries as well have impacted them. Leroy Cudjoe's still out. I don't know how long he's out for, but I think he's probably missed more games than he played in the last year and a half or so. So, that's a big loss for them still. And I think there's a lot of inconsistency within their back line as well. I think they've trialled about 3 or 4 different half-back combinations already this season. And not to mention, I know they had Scott Griggs come back in for Darnell McIntosh on Monday, but they can't. I think you've got to have continuity in your squad to do well, and that's why we've seen, for example, Saints do so well. They did the same last year. Obviously, didn't end up winning the competition and went out, but they've got that consistency, and again, it's showing, in the results they're getting. So, I think Warrington will breeze this game. If I'm honest, I might be proved wrong, but I don't see them having too much trouble. Yeah, Warrington win for me.
So that's it, guys. It all comes down to Hull FC versus Wakefield.
That's
so
pressure.
I guess we probably won't be seeing one of you ever again. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, it should be an interesting weekend of fixtures. Like I say, all the games on Saturday and Sunday this week. So let us know your predictions for the game, and we'll be back for the forfeit next
Watch
week.
every game of the NRL, plus the grand final and State of Origin, from anywhere outside Australia, New Zealand or the Pacific Islands. Go to watchnrl.com and take the footy with you.